Hi there, this is Ranbir Puar. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me here on my YouTube channel, a channel dedicated to helping you strengthen the relationships under your roof by learning to like yourself and then also learning to like your family members. If you're new, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on new content, which usually comes out on Fridays. So let's dive into today's topic. Today, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about dads and the importance of dads in the parent-child relationship. There's a lot of significant research that talks about the impact of a male father figure in a child's life and how much that can really improve a child's well-being. Before I dive into that, I want to stress to you, because I know that we all have really unique family situations and that your family is going to look different than mine and maybe your neighbors and so on and so forth. So if your child doesn't have a dad per se, please don't look at this with a negative lens. Look at this with a lens that allows you to look for possibilities for male role models in your child's life. It doesn't always have to be the biological father of your child, okay? Don't use this as an excuse to feel sorry for yourself. That is a super important thing to start with. So let's go. And the other thing I want to point out to you, if you watch my TED Talk, you know that I talk about net nourishment. And so if you're listening to this data as we go forward and you think, well, my husband doesn't do this or my ex-husband doesn't do that, remember, if you do X percentage and he does a small percentage, we still get to 100. Your child still gets 100% net nourishment. And maybe they get nourishment from grandpa that is so significant that it's really, really wonderfully impactful. So don't forget, males come in with different titles. So let's dive in a little bit. I am going to read some data for you, and then we're going to talk about it. And so, fathers have a unique role in children's lives. So do grandpas, and so do male coaches, and so on and so forth. And, when I was growing up, the dad's main contribution was to the family's home through income. And so dads were not engaged with child rearing. It wasn't considered something dads did. And I want to celebrate how far males have come in this regard. Like, yes, it's so phenomenal. I don't even know if I could have imagined in my lifetime that I would see such a huge transition in this gender to go from being hands-off to being so hands-on. Like when I watch my husband with our sons, like I'm so incredibly grateful that he is taking an interest in them, even though that's not how he was trained to be a dad. So these males in this generation, some of them have gone above and beyond in their own work and their own healing to become interactive parents. Celebrate that. Let's talk about that more on the internet. Anyway, one of the, dads have a sort of a different parenting style than moms. Like I know that's true in my household. And, we come with pre-programmed beliefs. And of course, that plays a role in how we parent. And I think that stereotypically, and I say that stereotypically, a male role model helps your child take more risks, right? They can learn to kind of take up a little bit more space because that is something that males have traditionally been a little bit better at doing than some of us females. So I think that's really cool that they can tell kids how to learn about as well competition and independence. Those are really cool qualities that can come from a male role model. And remember, this is a general conversation, and I know there's a whole lot of virtue signaling going on the internet and a whole lot of victim mentality going on the internet. I'm not holding space for that here. I'm holding space for a very general conversation here. And so these are the general sort of stereotypical things men can provide. And the other thing that men have and dads have that is really can be a little bit different is how to conceptualize things. The experience I have in dealing with men and dads in my 11 years, I've been coaching since '09, is that they tend to take a really high perspective. So they'll take a situation that we might, as females, get really annoyed and irritated by, and then they go shoo up, and then they try to look at a whole bunch of factors. So their conceptual communication is different than ours. And so it's a really cool attribute to teach your children how to suck themselves out of a situation and look at it with this broader perspective, which is fantastic. Fantastic. I had to work so hard in my life to pull myself out of that, micromanaging or micro focus on a problem so I could see the bigger picture. And I have learned that through the males in my life. So I'm grateful for that. What about evidence? Because some of you want evidence. Okay, I'm going to read some studies for you. This was back from 1999 when the songs were good and we went to clubs and we danced and all that kind of stuff. The music was good back then. Back then, a study says that 82% of studies showed that father involvement and had a great impact on a child's well-being, and it was a positive thing. And then there's another one that says, in an analysis of over 100 studies on parent-child relationships, it was found that a loving and nurturing father was as important for a child's happiness, well-being, and social and academic success as having a loving and nurturing mother. I think that's really important because we do tend to often downplay the role of our partners or our co-parents in raising and rearing our children. I think part of that comes from the marketing messages we get online, and a lot of it comes from our own insecurity. I know that when I first became a mother, I had to challenge myself to allow my husband to have more say in how my children were parented, because my natural insecure self was to try to create a wall. So I got to call the shots because this was my baby that I grew in my body, and he was just kind of there to do what I wanted. And it took a lot of effort and energy on my part to work through that insecurity of mine, to allow him to have a say. And I don't mean that like he didn't have a say, but like have an influence on how we raised our sons. It's important. And if you're in that situation as a woman and you're watching this, or you have what you think is an awful ex-husband, for example, you got to remember that to your child, you and their dad are the sun and the moon. Like, they're so significant. You're so significant to them. So when you are putting down your ex-husband or old partner, in essence, the child hears that and feels like a little bit shattered inside. So I see it often. I see it often where women do a great deal of harm between the relationship with the child and their dad. It's really important to press pause on that and look at it from the greater picture, because the more that you can do to stay neutral on that relationship and supportive of your children, even if you hate that other person, you have to focus on your child's nurturing and net nourishment first and foremost. I have a lot to say on this topic. I have to pause to make sure I edit myself in my head, because like I said, there's a whole bunch of, canceling going on the internet. And I want to be sure that I get a message across without having to hurt people too much in the process, because there's a core belief at the moment that men aren't as important. Men should be canceled. I don't think so. I am raising 2 young men. And what I know for sure is that they have the same emotional capacity as their female counterparts. What I know for sure is that they have the same big hearts and kindness and capability for kindness in their selves. What I know for sure is that males get generalized as being disruptors or troublemakers, when really that's just their form of expression and it should be honored. And so when we pull that out to dads, And dads, we often joke that, they don't have to do anything, they just play. But imagine the fantastic lesson your child is getting from somebody who's willing to play with them and not be distracted while they're playing with them. Us women, we got to work at that. We have this mental load we carry. So in order to play with our child, we got to go file all this stuff away. And even when we're playing with our children, we are not always necessarily all there. So it's super important to allow that sort of free spirit to be infused into your children through their dad or their grandpa or their male role model that they have, or their bonus dad. Anyway, I just wanted to take that time today to talk about, celebrating men. This is November, the 1 month of the year where we, talk about Movember and celebrate men's wellness. It's important to celebrate the men that help us raise our children. I'm going to tear up because I can tell you that over 50% of my clients are males, and actually close to 80% of the calls I get for parenting help in the family unit come from dad. Dad is taking the initiative to get help and support for the mother of his children. Look at the transformation these men have made. 80% of the calls that I get, that's huge, come from the dad, because they want to support their children. They want their children to be well and to have opportunities and healing and growth that they maybe didn't have themselves. These men want their children to be emotionally expanded and feel safe. It's huge. I have such love for that, such gratitude for that, and I celebrate you, men, that are able to do that. There's some people I know that are single dads, and the job that they do for their children, unbelievable. So I guess the core message here, I know I've gone a few different places with it, is to stop beating up on men and stop feeling victimized by the men in your life that you co-parent with, whether he's your husband or your ex-husband or just somebody that's in your space that co-parents, because there's so many different formulas for families now. I don't want to leave anybody out. But instead of looking at them as something difficult or somebody contrarian or all those kinds of things you might feel, try celebrating bridging the gap. Try focusing on bridging that gap. Try looking at them and seeing, what are they bringing to my child's life that I can't offer? Because I guarantee you can't offer everything. And if you think you can, time to check yourself, because nobody can do that. It's not realistic. It's not healthy. So that's that for today. I hope you will go below here, share your comments on how the males in your life help you, give you roadblocks, all that kind of stuff. Share it below. I'd like to hear your comments on this because I think it's a cool topic to talk about. Don't forget, we have free courses as well at our online school. Make sure you check them out, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much.